Welcome back, saucers.
Welcome back for another joyful ride.
Joyful ride down the general election midterms tomorrow. Everybody, I hope you're registered to vote. If you're not registered, if you're not registered to vote, you're kind of fucked. But if you are, we're going to have some tips and tricks of how to safely vote and make sure you're well informed before a very important election tomorrow. So, yeah, here we are. And
if you're burnt out on the news, as a lot of people are, you don't have to watch. You can get all your information here.
Yeah, we're going to give you the boilerplate? Boilerplate?
Is that a thing?
What the fuck did I just say?
I don't know. Maybe, is that a thing?
We're just going to give you the highlights. Let's just stick to what we know.
The boiler points. Maybe that's real. Let's act like it's real.
Let us know in the comments if what I said was real.
And now let us tell you about the election.
Take it from us. No, don't take it from us because we did some good research for this. Shout out to Vox and CBS News, specifically your 2022 midterms cheat sheet by Li Zhou, Nicole Narea, and Christian Pa for Vox. We're going to link that, as well as What's at Stake in the 2022 Midterm Elections by Ed O'Keefe, Aaron NAVARRO, and Rebecca KAPLAN for CBS News. We're going to be linking those in our show notes because those are really good sources of, all the information we're going to be throwing your way today. So tomorrow, as is the case for every 2 years, voters decide who has the majority in both chambers of Congress. In 2022, that means the candidates voters choose in tomorrow's midterm elections will determine to a large degree whether Joe Biden can get any new policies passed or if Republicans will gain the ability to block most things he wants to do. But for now, forecast from 538, and 538 is something that I was an account that I followed a lot for the presidential election. They were pretty on it in predicting things. But who knows? Things could change. We're filming this a couple weeks ahead of time, so maybe in the next couple weeks things have changed. But for right now, 538 suggests that Republicans are going to win the House in 74 outcomes out of 100, while Democrats would keep the Senate in 69 outcomes out of 100. Models from the Economist echo these odds as well. And political strategists have identified the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in late June as a major turning point for Democrats in the midterms, which is going to be very interesting to see how everything's going to be played out with that. In at least 4 states, abortion rights are literally on the November ballot, marking a record number of abortion-related measures that have been considered in a single year to date.
Because we are going backwards.
We are going backwards, but we're going to try not to. Some Republicans have already floated plans to consider a nationwide abortion ban after 15 weeks of pregnancy should they retake control of Congress. This is why it's so important because shit like that is at stake. And 13 red states are set to implement their trigger bans by the end of September. Yes, so these policies defy the 85% of Americans who think that abortion should be legal in all of those circumstances, according to a long-running survey by Gallup. So they're going against what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Super great.
Awesome.
And they were in effect in September. So great. And then Biden and congressional Democrats now have a pretty clear list of goals for the second half of his term. They all center around the idea of electing at least 2 more senators to bypass the frequent roadblocks set by moderate Democrats like Kristen Sinema from Arizona and Joe Manchin of West Virginia, and holding the House. So Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin are fucking hogs, and I hate them. I do. They claim that they're for the people, and they're not.
Course.
And they're just super self-serving, and they're blocking so much progress, and we need to vote them out, but whatever.
We need to vote out a 2-party system, if you ask me.
We need to vote out a lot of things.
The electoral college.
And the filibuster, which we'll go into.
Yes.
Holy shit, the fucking...
So first among them is codifying reproductive rights and access to abortion, for which Biden has previously said he'd support an exception to the filibuster. He's similarly called for dropping filibuster rules to pass voting rights protections, something that failed earlier in his term. The Senate can also use budget reconciliation bills to get around the filibuster, and did so to pass sweeping economic, climate, and manufacturing programs like the American Rescue Plan and Inflation Reduction Act. With a safer voting margin, such bills could be more ambitious. Universal pre-K, extending the child tax credit, and letting Medicare negotiate drug prices for Americans beyond Medicare recipients. Those could all be part of future reconciliation bills. With the majority willing to do so, Democrats could even scrap filibuster rules altogether or overturn the decisions of the Senate parliamentarian who advises on what can go into a reconciliation bill to pass some of those priorities, like raising the national minimum wage. But this, as we've said, is currently less likely to happen than split control of Congress.
Yeah, so if the 538 is right, and we do lose the House, it's going to make it that much difficult. But likely we're going to take the Senate still, but it's just with filibuster. And we've talked about filibusters before. It's what keeps a lot of gun control laws from passing. And it's really outdated, and
it's just a loophole that, I mean, honestly, most of our system is actually set up, especially the Electoral College, but for the Republican Party, even though at the beginning of our country's the Republicans were the liberals, like it flipped which party represented what politics.
Yeah.
But, you know, the reason that a lot of these quote unquote loopholes, or like I'm talking about the Electoral College, but like the filibuster, these things are in existence to uphold some pretty nasty shit.
Really gross shit that doesn't benefit anybody but
those in power.
Those in power.
Not even those who share the belief of those in power, but those in power.
No.
That's a distinction.
There's so many people, especially Republicans, but a lot of Democrats too, that do not vote for the interest of the people. And so speaking of that, we want to go over the states that have a lot of weight in the elections. It's coming up, a lot of in the Senate seats and all of the other stuff. So we want to go through all of those. So all of our listeners, because we have listeners from all across the country. So if you're in these states, please listen up, because we got some facts for you. So right now, which Senate races are predicted as toss-ups in 2022? Arizona. Republicans saw Democratic Senator Mark Kelly as one of the most vulnerable incumbents heading into 2022 in the state with a large proportion of independent voters and a large Latino population, where the GOP has made inroads in recent elections. But after a competitive Republican primary, national Republicans are concerned that Trump-backed Blake Masters is too far to the right for those crucial independent suburban voters. He softened his language recently on controversial issues like abortion, gun control, immigration, and even his belief that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. So there's some backtracking because...
Oh, he softened his language.
Yeah. We'll see what goes on there. But in Georgia, Democrat Raphael Warnock is up for re-election just 2 years after defeating Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler in a special election to fill the remainder of the term of retiring Senator Johnny Isaacson. Stupid. He's outraising his opponent, University of Georgia football legend Herschel Walker. Okay, Walker is another Trump pick, but he comes with some baggage that could hamper his ability to flip his seat. Allegations of abuse against his ex-wife and some policy gaffes, including not honestly disclosing how many children he has and suggesting China's polluted air has replaced American air.
Oh, okay.
I have more to say because I don't think this was up to date with what happened last week with Herschel Walker, and it's fun. Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Not know this.
If neither candidates win over 50% of the vote, the race could go to a runoff, potentially delaying the outcome of Senate control for weeks if it's a close night. So please, if you're in Georgia, please vote for Senator Warnock, because Herschel Walker is a nightmare. So Herschel Walker is a retired football player who is very clear that he has this kind of piece, but he has issues from playing football and getting hit in the head.
Oh, gotcha.
He's just, he's not like, he's just,
he's been concussed one too many times.
Exactly.
And he
just
acknowledges
speaks
it.
slow, and he's just not the brightest bulb. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. And it's just like, and you can tell, because he's been a lifelong Republican, this guy, that like Republicans are exploiting him because he's black. Football player, and they're just, he's definitely like a puppet.
Yeah. Anytime like the right can get their claws into a black person, it's like, it's their like superpower.
Yeah, their mouth, they foam at the mouths. So Yeah, and he's very problematic. Again, there was a lot of allegations of abuse with his ex-wife, and he said a lot of stupid shit. But recently, a woman came out, and he's very pro-life. A woman came out last week saying that, and we're in October right now, mid-October, saying that he paid for her abortion not long ago. 2009.
Okay.
And not only did she come out, but she came out with receipts. She has like a card and the check that he sent, or like a copy of the check that he had sent her with $700 and then a get well soon card with his like initials and everything. Like she has receipts. And he was like on, I think it was like Tucker Carlson, or Sean Hannity, I can't remember like which Fox News station he was being interviewed about this, but he's just like, I don't know. I don't know this woman, never met her in my life. I have no idea. Like I send a lot of cards. Like, I don't know. He's just like deflects. He's like, this is a witch hunt, Democrats want to see,
that's the term.
like.
You send a lot of cards with the exact change for an abortion? Is that a thing?
And then it comes out that it was actually like one of his baby's mamas, like
she already has one of his kids?
Like it ended up being like not just a random woman, but a woman he has either like married before or at least had a kid with. Like it's like someone in his life. It's like not a random woman. And not only that, but his son. I don't know if you've ever heard of Christian Walker. He's a huge young gay Black Christian conservative, very loud, outspoken, very hypocritical. Like you can't tell if he trolls or something. That's his son, but he actually came out against his dad. He said it's absolutely true. Everything, you know what I mean? He's an abuser and all this stuff.
Wow.
And we told him not to run, and he's bad for the party. So like,
dang.
He raised a lot of money since this came out, and not that much, really, but he did raise more for Republicans being like, he's just being, it's a witch hunt by the media.
Oh, my God.
But he's not polling well, especially after that came out. So, but still, don't rest on your laurels. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. We can't be complacent. Yeah, that's it. That's the thing.
I was just making up phrases
Alyssa's just making up idioms and shit. The boiler points.
Don't rest on your boiler morals.
Don't rest on your boilers, if you know what I'm saying.
It'll be hot. It'll be hot.
It'll be hot. The hot seat. Yeah, we tied it back to something.
That's so funny. Okay. So another one that's a toss-up, Nevada. Prominent Republicans, including Trump, Florida Governor DeSantis, and Ted Cruz, have thrown their support behind former Nevada Attorney General Adam Laxalt, who is seeking to oust Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto in a very tight race. Cortez Masto, the first woman from Nevada, the first Latina ever elected to the U.S. Senate, is one of the many Democrats nationwide who may benefit from increased motivation among voters who want to protect abortion rights after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. So many of these states, so important because a lot of these Republicans coming in are pro-life.
Yeah, Nevada especially is become... A lot of the weight of the abortion issues right now is falling on Nevada because a lot of people are traveling. We're going from Texas to Nevada, and it just ends up like overcrowding their system. Yeah. And economically, at the end of the day, if you ban it nationwide, it's going to be a hot mess for the economy.
Oh my God, it's fucking awful.
Completely.
And Wisconsin is another one that's a toss-up. So Senator Ron Johnson is the Republicans' most vulnerable incumbent this cycle as the lone senator running for re-election in a state President Biden won in 2020. So far, he's outraising his opponent, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Both candidates are attacking the other one as too extreme for the state, with Barnes pointing to Johnson's stances on gay marriage, COVID-19, and the state GOP effort to overturn the 2020 elections, while Johnson argues Barnes is soft on crime and immigration.
Okay.
It's like...
Yeah, it's the same shit over and over and over and over. Like, I don't know. I think the aliens have to, like, take over for this to stop because it's not...
You're too soft on crime and immigration. You're not putting brown and black people away too much. Behind bars.
Not enough. So which Senate races lean toward Democrats? Colorado. So unlike nearly every Republican running in a competitive Senate seat, because construction company CEO Joe O'Dea hasn't been endorsed by Trump. That gives the GOP hope that the moderate Republican can beat two-term Democratic centrist Senator Michael Bennet. O'Dea is particularly out of step with most Republicans on abortion, saying that he believes the procedure should be legal through 20 weeks of pregnancy, with exceptions for rape, incest, and danger to the life of the mother after that.
I guess that tracks from Colorado because Colorado's already so blue.
Yeah, exactly.
But still.
Don't get complacent.
Yeah.
New Hampshire. So Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan faces a far-right opponent in the general election, retired Army General Don Bolduc, who defeated the candidate favored by national Republicans, State Senator Chuck Morse. Morse was considered by Republican leaders to be better poised to flip the seat into the GOP column than Bolduc.
Okay.
Pennsylvania is the other one.
Oh my God, this one I'm so passionate about.
Really?
Yes.
I want your take.
Yeah.
So after a bruising Republican primary that split the party establishment, celebrity TV doctor Mehmet Oz is trying to defeat Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman to keep his seat in Republican hands following the retirement of Senator Pat Toomey. Fetterman is still recovering after suffering a stroke in May that has affected his speech and hearing. He has so far declined to participate in a September debate against Oz, who has accused him of hiding from voters and the media. Well, if you just had a stroke, you might not want to be in the media, but
Yeah,
okay.
you're going to have to chill.
But said that he'd debate in October. Oz, meanwhile, has struggled against allegations that he has almost no ties to the state where he's running for Senate. Despite receiving Trump's endorsement and a visit from the former president, Oz recently said he would have certified the election for President Biden, but then said more information is needed to determine if the 2020 election was stolen.
It's like he's like a perfect mix of just like trying not to be too extreme. Like he wants to be like kind of
just both sides of the mouth.
Dr. Oz is a fucking demon. He is so gross. Like he was recently, I'm surprised it wasn't in this, called out because he was investigated because he had because he's a doctor and I think he's worked at like vets and stuff too.
Yeah.
Maybe you've seen him on Oprah. Like he's a huge TV personality.
On all the talk shows. He
would do experiments and surgeries on puppies without any anesthesia. And kill them.
What?
And if they weren't already dead or they were just dying, he would put them in a bag and throw them in a dumpster.
What?
Yeah. Like he was investigated and let off. Yeah. Because he has a fuck ton of money. Insane amount of money.
What was that?
I think 2000s, before he was like so popular. Because he's a sociopath. He's in a lot of sociopathic things. And
honestly,
he's from Jersey. Guys, he's from Jersey. His in-laws are from Pennsylvania. So he uses their addresses to like be certified.
Wow.
It's so gross. And like I can't tell you how fucking rich he is. And and John Fetterman is really, really cool. Like he is of the people. He's beloved by the people of Pennsylvania. He's like very like salt of the earth, like like very of the people.
Yeah.
Very sweet, very leftist. Like he is just a good guy. So I just really hope. I mean, it's already leaning that way to Fetterman, but it's still scary.
Also,
like if you're in Pennsylvania, please.
That behavior with the puppy thing, that's like, I mean, that's rule number one. Have you watched any true crime ever? Like the next step is you're a serial killer.
I know, but he gets away with it because it was for medical procedure. It was like he was experimenting with medical procedures. So okay, these are important. So which Senate races are leaning Republican? No surprise here, Florida.
No way.
Once purple Florida has trended increasingly Republican in recent years, with notable shifts among the state's large Latino population, which benefits two-term Republican Senator Marco Rubio. But he has a formidable opponent in three-term Democratic Congresswoman Val Demings, who has outraised Rubio and gained national name recognition as one of the House impeachment managers in Trump's 2020 Senate trial. And as one of the women Mr. Biden, President Biden considered to be a potential vice presidential nominee. She's also leaned on her experiences as Orlando's first female police chief to inoculate her against Republican claims that Democrats want to defund the police. I mean,
it's the best hope Florida has. Yeah.
ACAP still, but I like that she's outraising him. But Marco Rubio is like,
I know,
like so, like such a career politician
steeped
there.
in it.
But please, guys, vote that fucking psycho out. North Carolina, another one that's leaning towards Republican. Senator Richard Burr's retirement leaves this seat open for a race between three-term House Republican Congressman Ted Budd and former North Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice Cherry Beasley, a Democrat. North Carolina has eluded Democrats in statewide races since Barack Obama eked out a close win in 2008. If Beasley wins, she would be the first black woman to represent the state in the Senate, and it would be an early sign of a good night for Democrats. So that's huge. Like, this is a huge
But it's
race.
not projected to
It's not projected,
happen.
but like these things could change. There's a lot of things that are projected and didn't happen. Like this is why we want to tell you this stuff, because if you're from these states, it's so important to vote and tell your family and friends to vote.
Yeah.
There's so much at stake. Ohio, another one that's leaning towards the Republican, after a Trump endorsement helped him win a grueling Republican primary to succeed retiring Senator Rob Portman, hillbilly elegy author J.D. Vance is trying to beat moderate five-term Democrat Representative Tim Ryan. Ryan is outraising and outspending Vance in his effort to pull off an upset win, but national Republicans plan to flood the airwaves with tens of millions of dollars in ads in the coming weeks to boost Vance.
It's so funny. Like, we all know this, but all of these, the reasons for these projections, it's all money. It's all money. It's like outraising, outfunding, outraising, outfunding, because we are, our politics and everything in this country is ruled by money.
Yep.
So now lawmakers in at least 18 states have passed 34 laws placing new restrictions on voting since the beginning of 2021, which threaten to disproportionately affect voters of color, of course, according to the Brennan Center. In some states, you'll need a photo ID in order to register to vote and also present that ID when you cast your ballot. Most states allow you to vote in person during a designated early voting period ranging from 3 to 46 days, though in some states, you may need to request a mail-in ballot to vote early.
So hopefully you do that if that's what you want to do, but you still have today if you have your ballot at home, or tomorrow to vote in person, or if you can vote in person early, please do that as well. So whether or not you can vote by mail may be different this year than it was in 2020. After voters embraced mail-in voting during the pandemic, red states clamped down on the practice. And this is a thing that's been happening like very much because Roe v. Wade, and all these other stories, what's happening in Ukraine, all these stories are like dominating the airwaves, but Republicans have been like successfully passing all of these restrictions on voting in their states to make it harder because they realize like how much they got fucked in 2020
Right.
and that they didn't do enough to suppress people's votes. So you have to really do your homework on your state, and especially if you're in a red state, on how much they've been restricting and your access to vote.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a person of color in a
If you're a person of color, you just have to work harder, turns out, to make sure you have your rights.
Especially if you have a job, it's impossible. Okay, so after voters embraced mail-in voting during the pandemic, red states clamped down on the practice on the false premise that it was a source of widespread fraud in 2020. They tightened eligibility requirements, reduced the number of ballot drop boxes, shortened the amount of time voters can request an absentee ballot, and stopped sending mail-in ballots automatically to infrequent voters, which is like horrible because
that's awful.
It's like, I get it. It's like if people, but anyway, it's all terrible. Among other measures, check with your state and local election office for the most up-to-date requirements. So, the moral of the story is do your homework on if we mentioned you in any of these states. Be vigilant. Don't rest on your boilers. And please, please, please vote. I know it's disheartening. Voting will not change anything overnight, but is just one step to do your part so we don't have more restricted access to abortion rights, and gay marriage won't get overturned. And hopefully climate change, we can do something with that, because there's a lot of roadblocks that happen because of the filibusters, because of moderate Democrats like Manchin and Sinema. And it's about time to get these career moderate politicians out of our fucking lives.
Yeah.
So especially if you're in a state that, you have a Republican or moderate Democrat up for re-election, see who the, more progressive choices. Please do your research.
Yeah. Thank you. Please check us out on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at the S.O.S Pod, YouTube S.O.S with Molly and Alyssa. Please rate and review us. It really helps us reach more listeners, especially on Apple Podcasts. And we're on Spotify as well, right? Like everything.
Yep.
Then Patreon, join our Patreon for extended interviews, exclusive content. You can pick our episode topics. Shout out Black Lives Matter, as always, blacklivesmatter.com. Donate, get involved. I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Alyssa Rosano.
And here's to turning meltdowns
into magic.